This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. So you might notice that I'm in a different location. Well, that's because I'm in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. And I'm here because the Senior Bowl has been the single most important stop for the Cleveland Browns since they hired Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski in 2020. They always get multiple players out of the Senior Bowl, and it's the best way to get a good look at some guys who are going to be future Browns. So I'm here covering the week, and the first day of practice has just happened. And I'm just going to give a brief overview of what my feelings were, my feelings about some specific names, position groups. In general, this is a strong offensive line group, and I thought that the wide receivers also showed up well. Quarterbacks was a bit hit or miss, but I'll go through every position in this video and tell you where I would rank everybody as of day one in the Senior Bowl. And I'll also have some clarifications when I'm talking about just overall how I feel about this player versus do I feel like there's somebody that the Browns could draft or even should draft. So we're going to start with quarterback. The biggest name is Michael Penix from Washington, and he's a great player, big guy. When you see him in person, you do notice that his lower half is not necessarily the most sturdy. Like it doesn't give you sturdy. Bo Nix, about 6'2". I thought he was very unimpressive today. He was just another guy there. Michael Pratt had some moments. Spencer Rattler is tiny. I don't know what Spencer is listed at. He is by far the tiniest one out there. So if I had to rank these guys for the Browns or even just in general, I would say Michael Penix 1, Sam Hartman 2, Bo Nix. Michael Pratt 3, Bo Nix 4. Joe Milton, Spencer Rattler, Carter Bradley. I was really shook by how small and the lack of tools that Spencer Rattler seems to have. Like you always think of him as a 5-star recruit, somebody who was a big time star going into Oklahoma. And then you see him and he looks pretty average size there. Michael Penix looks like how you feel like he would look, throws like how you feel like he would throw. The thing with Michael Penix that I noticed today and that you'll notice when you watch Michael Penix tape is when that pressure comes, he doesn't process things and get rid of that ball at all or even try to avoid the pressure. He just kind of freezes, and that can't be a thing for you. So even though I have this guy 1A, I honestly would rather have Sam Hartman. Now, Sam Hartman to me is like gonna be a really good backup for a bunch of different teams, but I don't think you draft Sam Hartman. If I'm being honest here, I didn't see anybody in today that made me feel like I would feel comfortable spending a first, second, day one or day two pick on any of these quarterbacks. I just wasn't blown away. The college resumes of Michael Penix and Bo Nix might get them in the first round, but if we're just going off of evaluating them, nobody really stood out that much. And honestly, the quarterback that did stand out today was Sam Hartman, and we kind of know where his ceiling is, so that kind of tells you where you're at. Now, a position where I did think some players stood out was running back. I thought the most impressive running back for me, the running back that I like the most, and this is not going to be somebody a lot of people are talking about, Dylan Lube or Laub. Please tell me how to pronounce it. They didn't give me a media guide to know how to pronounce his name. But Dylan Laub, I thought he had a really nice day today in the Senior Bowl. Every time he touched the ball, he did something with it. And then I looked at his measurables because he did seem a bit small in person. But I wanted to look at his measurables that they did. He measured in at 5'9", 210, so he's fine enough size. Good explosiveness. He is the quintessential second running back. Like, if you just want to change a pace, this dude's explosive. If you want somebody who reminds you of Dearness Johnson, what I saw in day one of Rasheed Allen would probably be more like that, a bigger running back, but a slower paced runner. He kind of is more patient with his runs, broke a big one in 11 on 11s. So I think that will be something to look at as well. But as far as running backs go, some of the big names here, Marshawn Lloyd, I thought he had a nice day as a receiving back. Ray Davis, I didn't get to really see much of him. Cody Schrader, I don't think he had a bad day, but I could really see the lack of athleticism affecting him. I don't know if his game translates into that next level like we want it to. A really productive back at Missouri, but I'm pretty concerned about the ability to translate. Wide receiver, which is one that we're all interested in. Now, for wide receivers, if we're just looking for a wide receiver that will pass the eye test, like if we're just like, hey, we need to cast the dude in a movie to be a wide receiver, Brendan Rice is who you get. He's 6'3", he's a big guy, and he's what you want from that standpoint. Now, when they actually started playing football, didn't really hear much from Brendan Rice, to be honest with you. I do have some 11 on 11 film that I have to go over, but I'm just giving my first impressions so far. Ladd McConkey, I think Dontez Walker, predictably so, were the two most impressive receivers, in my opinion, from what I saw. Ladd McConkey just wins routes. Dontez Walker, they had a one-on-one drill at the end of practice with the DB, and he just annihilated this DB immediately off the line of scrimmage with his hands. He has good hands, good feet, good route runner, all of those things. The only thing I worry about with Dontez, and this is specifically a Cleveland Browns worry, he's slight. He's tall, but he's slight. I think he's 6'2", 6'3", but he's really, really slight. And I think it's important for the Browns to add some bigger wide receivers. And I mean, like, bigger weight-wise and size-wise. I thought Jamari Thrash was pretty impressive today, too. I saw a lot of him. Roman Wilson was pretty good, too. I don't know if Roman Wilson's a fit for the Cleveland Browns, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think we need another Roman Wilson. Like, it'd be just like, we're trying to get it together with David Bell. Roman Wilson would be in that same category as David Bell as far as explosiveness goes. Now, I don't know what his long speed's like, but I was watching him. He doesn't cut super fast off that ball at all. Now, he might be a good 40 guy, but I'm just telling you what I saw from him doing like the short area quickness drills. But Jamari Thrash, I thought he was very impressive. Finished through contact a couple times in the first day of practice. Really did a good job of just being a football player, right? Like, sometimes you want to, with wide receivers especially, you got to make sure these dudes can play football, because we can fall in love with wide receivers' traits, or fall, like Brendan Rice is huge, or maybe you have a guy who runs a 4.2 or 4.3 like Anthony Schwartz a couple years ago, and you fall in love with that. But then you got to make sure these dudes can play football. Right, because if you just watch warm-ups, you would think Brendan Rice is the number one receiver in the Senior Bowl. He's not even close to the number one receiver in the Senior Bowl right now. But, you know, it's it's just interesting, man. Sometimes we forget these dudes got to play football too. And Jamari Thrash is up there. Well, it was, to me today, he was up there with Roman Wilson and Ladd McConkey as dudes just playing some damn football, right? Like, and he played some football. I really like that from my wide receivers. Tight ends, I thought AJ Barner had a solid day. Jaheim Bell, if he is who I think he was, he balled. I have to double check that, because it could have been a Boston College helmet, and we're sitting far away. We don't have the best access to see these numbers. But if he is who and they're also running these drills at the same time that they're running defensive line one-on-one, so I can only catch it. But there was a big dude in a Florida State helmet that was dogging on that side of the ball. And I believe that was him. Again, I have to refer back to the tape after this is all done. Offensive line is where this starts to get good, man. And there's some talented guys. There are some talented guys. This is where I think the most first round picks are going to come from, this position group, and it's specifically tackle. Talisi Fuaga, first rounder. I mispronounced that name, I know, but first rounder. Brick wall, first rounder. Troy Fatanu, please help me pronounce this properly. Give me some pronunciation guides in the comment section. This is the one time where I would embrace somebody giving me some pronunciation guides. But Troy, I appreciate Troy. Troy was really good. Troy was really killing out there. Brick wall, same thing. My guy Kingsley Sumatia. Again, I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing these names. I need some pronunciation guides. Really was an animal out there. Like, he wasn't as consistent as the other two, but he got the most whip ass in him from what I saw day one. So really impressed with him. Really impressed overall with what I saw from those three tackles. Unfortunately for the Browns, Mock Draftable has these guys ranked 18th, 24, and 38. Don't know if you're gonna get them, but they're gonna start somewhere for sure. If they practice like that for the rest of the week, they will start somewhere. Other guys who I thought played well on the offensive line that aren't tackles, we'll just briefly go over this because the Browns aren't looking for guards or centers. Jackson Powers Johnson balled today. I felt like he was really good. Ladarius Henderson from Michigan, pretty good as well. And then if we have defensive linemen, I really have to go over the defensive line one-on-ones with the offensive lines because especially for the national team practice, because I just did not get the greatest look at it, and they were having one-on-ones for wide receivers at the same time. I was recording that, so I'm going to film break down that whole thing. Don't worry about it. But I didn't get a good eye on it, but I really, from what I remember, I don't think Byron Murphy or Tavondre Sweat really were that impactful in it. I could be wrong about that, but I didn't feel like they made a huge impact in those drills. Michael Hall had one great rep at the beginning of this thing. I did not see Michael Hall again after that. McKinley Jackson from Texas A&M, animal. He only knows a bull rush, but he just spams that bull rush. And he is a guy who's going to be interested to see what his draft process is because he has great explosiveness. He has great BGO, ball get off, and he has great speed to power. He's not the tallest guy. He's a little bit of a stocky guy. And that might end up, and he's not what most teams look for in build for a tackle. But I like him. And I'm excited to see him tomorrow. Darius Robinson, I thought he played well in this one too. And then there's Gabe Hall, who's at 189 right now. Yeah, that looks like at least a third round pick to me. I think Gabe Hall was really good. He was the biggest guy there. Long, strong. You would think he's super stiff, and he is a little stiff, but he's not as stiff as like Greg Rousseau coming out of Miami. So I think that he is somebody who's interesting to watch going forward as well. But those are the standouts in the interior defensive line for me. Edge rusher. I heard a lot about Latu. I didn't see much of Latu, to be honest. Latu kept running his arc. He kept running his arc for his tackles. He didn't really. He has burst. I see why people are high on him, but he got a lot to learn before he can be an impactful player in the NFL. Or at least that's what I saw today. He could always change the narrative tomorrow. And then the Michigan guys, I didn't really see much from them. Honestly, I didn't see much from the edge rooms as well. And again, this might just be that it's a really good tackle class, but the edges weren't necessarily the greatest there. Linebackers, I got to look at the 11-on-11 film for me to even have an opinion on that. It'd be irresponsible. Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo was the number one ranked corner in the Senior Bowl coming into this. Yeah, that's true. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, that dude's a first round pick. I don't know how high in the first round he goes, but 100% Q Mitchell from Toledo is 1000% a first round pick. He made several plays today, and hopefully he continues to do it for the rest of the week. But that man was balling, straight up balling. Safety play, that's another one where I got to look at the 11 on 11 film before I can really have an opinion. Kickers, I'm not about to do that. I don't think anybody really stood out. Any of the kickers really stood out there. But yeah, overall, if I had to say who was the most impressive player today, the guy that made me go, the most, is probably Troy from Washington. Troy Fontu from Washington. It's hands down. Just at times he just looked in control of everything. I know he didn't have the greatest national championship game, but that's a professional left tackle. And if the Browns can get him in the second round, I think you could get him and he would start and do everything that you want him to do at left tackle. Now, I don't know if they're projecting him for left or right tackle, but if he is projected at left tackle, then yeah, I think he can do it. I think he can play left tackle in the NFL. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the NFL. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.